Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd One Out with your host Mark. Today I'm going to talk about Grizzly Man. I'm going to keep this brief. I know these are usually pretty short anyway, but this is going to be even shorter. There's not that much to say other than it was quite an amazing documentary. This Werner Herzog really pulled together really interesting footage. But the subject was a man, Timothy, I can't remember his surname, Timothy, who insisted on going out into the wilds of like Alaska and such like and trying to bond with the bears. And he was quite successful, actually, for quite an extended period, amazingly. And that includes brown bears and grizzly bears. But he was kind of delusional. He treated the bears as if they were people. A character said this during the day. He seemed to treat the bears like they're people in bear skins. And he himself started to adopt bear-like things. So apparently, we didn't see footage of this. When he talked to when people were trying to interact with him in the wild, he would sometimes act like a bear to them, like growl or bark or something, which seems really odd. And you see, in the course of the documentary is really interesting because it has talking heads of his friends and people who knew him or people that are experts in that sort of area or lived in that area, commented about what they thought of him, along with a load of footage he took of himself. And it was kind of interesting. He had some quite interesting psychological issues. He was kind of he appeared to be a bit delusional about, paranoid about people trying to mess with the bears. Like there was bits where a tourist would come and look at them and he'd say, "No, they're attacking the bears, they won't leave the bears alone." And it was like only he could talk to the bear or be with the bears, no one else should be allowed near the bears, and things like this. And I thought it was really interesting. The talking heads were really interesting in that they give you lots of different perspectives. There was like bear biologists, scientists, and there were people from the Inuit culture. There was a guy from Inuit culture who was talking about it. He says this really disrespects the bear, treating them like this. Now, having said all that, I made him sound mad, and he kind of was, but he was a likeable kind of man. In other ways, he was very friendly. He chatted away, chatty. He kind of came across as a bit effeminate, but he was obviously not gay. He was straight, but he had an effeminate air about him. But he had various girlfriends. In fact, one died with him on the trip. But it was kind of interesting how he'd like film himself talking about, "I'm the only one here. There's no one around at all." But his girlfriend was actually in the camp, but you barely ever see her any footage. He kind of excludes her. And what is interesting in seeing him do multiple takes, he'd do a take, set the camera up, do a take about some part of the story, then he'd start ranting about, he hates the authorities and the government and things like this. Then he'd calm down and do a different take, slightly friendlier, and stuff like that. And apparently he went into schools and stuff, talked about it, never took a penny. He was that passionate about it. He was poor but happy. He was that kind of guy. But unfortunately, he was kind of a bit delusional. I was really impressed how much he did interact with the bears for over extended periods. I thought a bear would just take your head off. But no, they kind of knew him and they kind of left him be. And in fact, the bear that killed him in the end was a bear. All the bears he knew had gone into hibernation. He was going home, but he had an argument at the airport or something, so decided to go back. And all the bears he knew had already gone into hibernation. The new bears from further north had moved in, and they were kind of unfriendly. And even though they weren't known to him, he was still really close to them and talking to them. But in the end, it didn't work out. Werner Herzog cut this together from apparently hundreds of hours of footage, and he's made some interesting choices. And what I also find interesting, Werner Herzog sometimes comments on the track himself, which is kind of unusual. And he talks about how this guy believes nature's a happy place and bad things happen, and that you should be unhappy about it. And Werner Herzog talks about his own philosophy, thinking life is chaos and bleak and despair, which is Werner's own philosophy. But it's kind of funny and interesting to hear. Beautiful footage, and it's kind of a shame that this man ended up this way, but it was kind of inevitable. In the end, a bear was going to get him because he couldn't stop being around bears and didn't care about his own personal safety. I'd recommend it. I think I'd give it 75 out of 100. If you really like documentaries, it probably, you can consider adding 5 more to that as a recommendation. But I think for a general audience, 75 out of 100 is a reasonable score for this. I enjoyed it a lot. I found it thoroughly engaging. I couldn't stop watching once I turned it on. The first 5 minutes, you thought, this man's stupid. What on earth is he doing? But you just kind of get into it and start seeing what it's all about, and it's kind of interesting. Okay, then, that's enough from me. Bye.
Well, I'm here with one of my favorite bears. It's Mr. Chocolate. Hey, Mr. Chocolate. He's been with me for over a decade, and he's been my good friend. Oh, he's a big bear. He's a big bear. A very big bear. Wow.
When you spend a lot of time with bears day after day, there's a calling that makes you want to come in and spend more time in the world.
Expedition 2001, I came here and protected the animals as best I could. In fact, I'm the only protection for these animals out here. Animals rule. Timothy conquered.
He tended to want to become a bear.
Most times I'm a kind warrior out here. Occasionally I am challenged. And in that case, the kind warrior must become a samurai.
I think he had lost sight of what was really going on, or he got what he was asking for, he got what he deserved.
Come here and try to do what I do. You will die. You will die here. We need more rain! Melissa is eating her babies! Timothy, I'm getting a bad feeling about you. I can smell death all over my fingers. I will die for these animals. I will die for these animals. I will die for these animals.
Now the Longhorns are gone, and the Drovers are gone, the Comanches are gone.
This is my life. This is what I do. I love it.
Geronimo's gone,
He says, if I don't come back, it's what I want.
and the lion is gone, and the red wolf is gone. Ooh, yip, ooh, yip, ooh.
And that's my story here. For me, Timothy Treadwell, the kind warrior.
Ooh, yip,